My name is Katherine Miller, and I never thought I'd be the kind of woman who would turn her entire life upside down over a single moment of cruelty from decades ago. 27 years of military service, 3 deployments, and a lifetime of discipline couldn't prepare me for the day I would look my only son in the eye and decide that his inheritance would become something entirely different from what he ever expected. The small ranch house in Montana had been my sanctuary since retiring from the Army. Every morning, I'd wake up at 5:30, brew a pot of strong black coffee, and watch the sun rise over the distant mountains. The walls were lined with carefully preserved memories, photos from my service, medals meticulously framed, and a few mementos from a life dedicated to protecting my country. My days were quiet, structured, predictable, exactly how I'd planned them after years of structured military life. Michael, my son, had always been a point of complicated emotion. Born during my second deployment, raised mostly by my parents while I served, our relationship had never been what you might call warm. He resented my absence, the years of missed birthdays, school plays, and crucial moments of childhood. I'd tried to make up for it later, but the distance seemed impossible to bridge. The phone call came on a crisp autumn morning. I was cleaning my service rifle, an old habit that kept my hands busy and my mind focused. Michael's voice was sharp, cutting through the morning stillness. "Mom, you're going to die alone," he said. "No one's going to remember you. You were never there for me, and now you expect me to care?" His words weren't new. We'd had variations of this conversation countless times, but something in his tone that morning was different, a coldness that went beyond typical generational frustration. I remained silent, letting him continue. "I've been going through some old boxes," he said, "and I found something interesting. Want to know about Tommy Reyes?" The name hit me like a sudden gunshot. Tommy Reyes, a name I hadn't heard in decades, a memory I'd carefully locked away in the deepest recesses of my mind. High school had been a battlefield of its own kind. Tommy was the kid everyone picked on. Small, quiet, from a poor immigrant family. I wasn't one of his tormentors, but I wasn't his defender either. Silence in those moments was its own form of violence. I watched, I knew, and I did nothing. Michael's voice continued. "I found his obituary. Seems like life wasn't kind to Tommy after high school. Died alone, no family, working some minimum wage job until the end." I could hear the accusation in his words, the implied judgment. "What do you want from me?" I asked, my voice steady despite the memories flooding back. "Nothing," Michael replied. "Just thought you should know. Oh, and about my inheritance. Don't count on me being grateful for anything you might leave behind." The line went dead. I sat in my carefully maintained living room, surrounded by the symbols of my service. The precision, the discipline, the years of sacrifice. And yet, in that moment, I felt nothing but a growing sense of something unresolved. Tommy Reyes wasn't just a name. He was a reminder of every moment I'd chosen, silence over action, compliance over compassion. High school had been a microcosm of social dynamics, the strong preying on the weak, and those with the power to intervene choosing comfortable neutrality. I pulled out an old yearbook from a bottom drawer. My hands, usually steady enough to field strip a weapon in minutes, trembled slightly as I found his photo. Tommy was skinny, glasses too big for his face, wearing a smile that seemed more like a defensive mechanism than genuine joy. The memories came rushing back, the daily taunts, the accidental trips in the hallway, the lunch money stolen, the cruel nicknames, and me, Katherine Miller, future soldier, future protector of the nation, doing nothing. I'd spent a lifetime believing my silence was a form of neutrality. My military training had taught me to pick battles, to assess risks, to understand strategic silence. But this wasn't a battlefield with clear enemy lines. This was human cruelty in its most mundane form. Michael's call wasn't just about Tommy Reyes, it was about accountability, about the moments we choose to look away, the times we decide that non-involvement is the same as non-responsibility. As the Montana sun continued its steady climb, casting long shadows across my carefully maintained ranch, I realized my next mission had nothing to do with military strategy. It was about rectifying a debt decades in the making. My son thought I would die alone. He had no idea what was about to unfold. The next morning, I drove into town, my old military-issue Jeep cutting through the crisp Montana morning. The local library was my first stop, a place of quiet research, not unlike the intelligence gathering I'd done during my years of service. Tommy Reyes wasn't just going to be a distant memory I'd file away and forget. I needed to understand the full story. The librarian, Martha, had known me for years. She watched with curiosity as I spread out local newspapers, employment records, and archived documents across the heavy oak research table. Tommy's life after high school was a series of struggles. After graduation, he'd worked multiple jobs: gas station attendant, warehouse worker, night shift security. No college, no remarkable achievements, just survival. His obituary was brutally sparse. Died alone in a small apartment, no family listed, no survivors to notify. I discovered he'd been working at a local community center in his final years, helping at-risk youth. The irony wasn't lost on me. The kid who'd been bullied had dedicated his final years to protecting others who might face similar challenges. A phone call interrupted my research. Michael's number flashed on my cell phone. I hesitated before answering. "Are you going through with this?" he asked, his voice a mixture of anger and disbelief. "Going through with what?" I responded coolly. "Don't play dumb, Mom. I know you're looking into Tommy Reyes. I saw the library search requests. Small towns. Nothing stays secret for long." "I'm trying to understand," I said simply. Michael laughed, a harsh sound devoid of humor. "Understand? After all these years, you were never interested in understanding anything about me. Why start now?" The conversation was becoming familiar. Another battlefield where communication was more about artillery than actual connection. "This isn't about you," I responded. "This is about something I should have done decades ago." I traced Tommy's final years through community center records. His supervisor, a woman named Elena Rodriguez, agreed to meet me. When I walked into the community center, the walls were covered with photos of kids, success stories, scholarship recipients, young people who'd found hope. Elena was direct, her eyes sharp and observant. "Tommy was special," she said. "Not because he was extraordinary, but because he understood what it meant to be overlooked." She showed me a wall of achievement. Kids Tommy had mentored. A scholarship fund he'd started with his meager savings. Children of immigrants, kids from tough neighborhoods, young people who needed someone to believe in them. He never talked about his own high school experiences, Elena continued. But he was determined that no kid would feel as alone as he had. The pieces were starting to form a picture more complex than my initial guilt. Tommy hadn't been defined by his bullying. He'd transformed his pain into purpose. I learned he'd saved almost every penny from his various jobs to create a small scholarship fund. The fund had helped 12 kids go to college, kids who otherwise might never have had the opportunity. Michael called again that evening. "What are you planning?" he demanded. "I'm understanding," I responded. "Something I should have done a long time ago. My son's inheritance was substantial, nearly $500,000 from my military pension, savings, and investments. Michael had always viewed it as his future security, his reward for tolerating our fractured relationship. But something was brewing inside me, a mission. Not the kind I'd been trained for in the military, but something more personal, more profound. Tommy Reyes had turned his pain into hope for others. What could I do to honor that? The community center, the scholarship fund, these were start points. But I knew my approach needed to be more strategic, more impactful. I pulled out my old military planning notebook. Habit dies hard. Each page became a potential strategy for transformation. Not just remembrance, but active redemption. Michael would be furious. But for the first time in years, I felt something I hadn't experienced in a long time. A sense of true purpose that went beyond military orders or familial obligations. The Montana night settled around my ranch house. Outside, the distant mountains stood as silent witnesses. I was preparing for a different kind of mission, one that would challenge everything my son believed about inheritance, about family, about redemption. Tommy Reyes had transformed his pain into hope. Now, it was my turn to do the same. The legal paperwork was meticulous. 27 years of military service had taught me precision, and I applied that same attention to detail in drafting my plan. The Tommy Reyes Memorial Scholarship would be established with a substantial endowment, nearly the entire inheritance Michael expected to receive. I chose specific parameters. The scholarship would support first-generation immigrant students, children of veterans, and young people who had experienced bullying. Each recipient would receive not just financial support, but mentorship, guidance, and a connection to a support network. Michael's call came exactly as I anticipated. "You're crazy," he shouted, his voice crackling with rage through the phone. "You're giving away my inheritance to strangers?" "Not strangers," I corrected him. "Opportunities." The confrontation was inevitable. I invited Michael to the ranch, knowing he would come. He arrived on a gray Saturday morning, his expensive sedan looking out of place against the rugged Montana landscape. "Explain this to me," he demanded, throwing down the legal documents I'd sent him. "How can you do this?" I poured 2 cups of black coffee, the same way I'd done countless times during military briefings. "Sit," I told him. Michael looked older than his years. Lines of bitterness had etched themselves around his eyes, a map of unresolved anger. He'd inherited more than just my genetic material. He'd inherited my capacity for holding on to pain. "This isn't about the money," I began. "This is about something I failed to do decades ago." I told him about Tommy Reyes, not just the bare facts, but the full story. How a young boy had been systematically broken down by cruelty. How silence, from people like me, had been as damaging as active bullying. "You think this makes up for something?" Michael scoffed. "Throwing money at a problem decades later?" "It's not about making up," I responded. "It's about changing something, creating a path for those who might otherwise be overlooked." I showed him the details of the scholarship. Each recipient would receive not just tuition, but mentorship, support, a lifeline. I wish someone had extended to Tommy. Michael's anger was a tangible thing. "You were never there for me," he said. "And now you're going to be a hero for strangers?" The spa accusation hung in the air. I'd heard this before, during my deployments, when military service meant missed birthdays, absent holidays, a mother more committed to her country than to her son. "I'm not trying to be a hero," I told him. "I'm trying to be accountable." We sat in silence. The Montana landscape outside was unforgiving, vast, open, offering no easy resolutions. I pulled out an old photo album, pictures from my deployments, from his childhood, moments captured but not truly shared. "I wasn't a perfect mother," I said. "Military service demanded sacrifices most people can't understand." Michael's anger began to crack. Not completely, but enough to create a fissure of understanding. I told him about the community center where Tommy had worked, about the 12 kids who'd gone to college because of a scholarship he'd started with his minimum wage savings, about transformation. "This isn't about you losing an inheritance," I said. This is about creating an inheritance for others. He looked at me differently then, not with complete understanding, but with something more complex. Curiosity, confusion, a hint of respect. "Why now?" he asked. "Because some debts take decades to understand," I responded. "And some redemptions aren't about money. They're about recognizing our shared humanity." The conversation was far from a Hollywood reconciliation. We were too damaged, too set in our patterns for that. But something had shifted. A microscopic movement, like tectonic plates adjusting beneath the surface. Michael didn't stay long, but when he left, he took the scholarship documents with him. Not to challenge them, but to read them, to understand. As his car disappeared down the long Montana driveway, I realized the inheritance I was truly leaving behind wasn't monetary. It was a lesson in accountability, in transformation. Tommy Reyes had never known the impact he would have. How his story of survival would become a catalyst for something larger. The mountains outside remained unchanged, indifferent. But inside the ranch house, something fundamental had been altered. The first scholarship recipient arrived on a crisp, autumn morning, much like the day I'd received Michael's life-changing phone call. Her name was Maria Gonzalez, a high school senior from a small town near the Mexican border. When she walked into the community center, I saw something familiar in her eyes, a mixture of hope and hesitation that reminded me of Tommy Reyes. Elena Rodriguez, Tommy's former supervisor, had been instrumental in selecting the candidates. "This isn't just about money," she told me during the selection process. "It's about identifying those who have the potential to transform their pain into purpose." Maria's story unfolded like a carefully written memoir. Her parents were agricultural workers, moving between temporary jobs, their entire lives balanced on the knife edge of economic uncertainty. She'd been a top student, but college seemed like an impossible dream. The day she received the scholarship, she brought her entire family, her parents, 2 younger siblings, an elderly grandmother who wiped tears from her weathered cheeks. "I want to become a social worker," Maria told me during our first meeting, "to help kids who feel like they don't have a voice." The irony wasn't lost on me. Tommy Reyes had dedicated his life to similar work, and now his legacy continued through Maria. The scholarship wasn't just financial support. It was a comprehensive program: monthly mentorship meetings, career guidance, emotional support. Things Tommy had never received during his challenging high school years. Michael's involvement came unexpectedly. A month after our confrontation, he called. Not with anger, but with a strange hesitation. "I've been thinking," he said. The words hung between us, laden with years of unspoken tension. He wanted to meet Maria, not to challenge the scholarship, but to understand it. Our meeting was awkward, charged with years of unresolved emotions. Michael brought his wife, Sarah, a family therapist who had been quietly observing our fractured relationship for years. Maria arrived at the local coffee shop, nervous but determined. She wore a blazer that looked slightly too big, a testament to limited resources and big dreams. Michael asked about her goals, her family. Each question felt like a probe, but also like an attempt at connection. Sarah watched, her professional eyes taking in every interaction. "I want to create support systems for immigrant children," Maria explained, "to ensure they have resources I didn't have growing up." Something shifted in Michael's expression. Not pity, something closer to recognition. Weeks turned into months. The scholarship program expanded. Each recipient became a story of transformation. A young veteran's son who wanted to become a counselor for military families. A child of refugees studying environmental law. Each narrative a thread in a larger tapestry of hope. Elena helped me understand the deeper impact. "These aren't just scholarships," she said. "These are lifelines, bridges between what was and what could be." Michael began to contribute. Not Financially, not initially, but through connections, through sharing professional networks. Small interventions that spoke louder than any monetary contribution. The most profound moment came during a community event celebrating the scholarship recipients. Tommy's elderly sister, someone I'd tracked down through extensive research, attended. She was frail, her hands trembling, but her eyes sparkled with a mixture of grief and pride. "Tommy would have loved this," she whispered, holding my hand. He always believed in second chances. Michael stood nearby, watching, not with the anger of our previous encounters, but with something more complex. Understanding, reflection. It was hard to define. Sarah, his wife, explained it best. "Healing isn't linear," she told me. "It's a series of small moments, connections rebuilt, pain acknowledged, hope restored." The scholarship became more than a memorial. It became a living testament to transformation, to the idea that our most profound inheritances aren't monetary, but emotional. The capacity to see beyond our immediate pain and create something meaningful. Tommy Reyes, the boy who had been bullied, was now inspiring a generation of young people to break cycles of adversity. His brief, challenging life had become a catalyst for change. Michael and I weren't suddenly best friends. Our relationship remained complicated, layered with years of unresolved emotions. But something had changed. A mutual recognition, an understanding. That redemption looks different for everyone. As the first group of scholarship recipients prepared for college, I thought about Tommy, about the silent kid in the hallway, about the power of witnessing, about the responsibility we have to each other. The Montana landscape outside remained unchanged, vast, indifferent. But within the small community center, within the lives of these young people, something profound was taking root, an inheritance of hope, cultivated from pain, transformed by understanding. 5 years had passed since the Tommy Reyes Memorial Scholarship began. My Montana ranch had transformed from a place of quiet retirement to a hub of unexpected connections, a living testament to the power of redemption. Maria Gonzalez was now completing her master's in social work. Her first internship had been with a nonprofit supporting immigrant children, the very population Tommy had dedicated his life to supporting. During her graduation, she invited me to speak, not as a donor, but as someone who had witnessed her journey. "You gave me more than a scholarship," she told me privately before the ceremony. "You gave me a purpose." The scholarship had grown beyond my initial expectations. What started as a personal mission of accountability had become a movement. 27 recipients, one for each year of my military service, had now completed, or were pursuing higher education. Michael's involvement had been the most surprising transformation. What began as reluctant observation had evolved into active participation. He'd started connecting scholarship recipients with professional networks, offering mentorship, creating opportunities that extended beyond financial support. One afternoon, he arrived at the ranch unannounced. Sarah was with him, carrying a folder of documents. "We want to formalize our involvement," Michael said. His tone was different, less combative, more collaborative. They proposed establishing a formal foundation, not just continuing the scholarship, but expanding its reach, supporting not just education, but creating comprehensive support systems for young people facing adversity. The irony wasn't lost on me. My son, who once accused me of being disconnected, was now creating connection. Sarah explained the details: professional counseling for scholarship recipients, career mentorship programs, networking opportunities, a holistic approach that went far beyond monetary support. "Tommy would have loved this," Elena Rodriguez told me during a strategy meeting. She'd become more than just a contact. She was now a key advisor to the foundation. The first major event of the expanded program brought together all previous scholarship recipients. A reunion of sorts, celebrating not just individual achievements, but collective transformation. Maria spoke about her work with immigrant children. Another recipient, James Rodriguez, a veteran's son, discussed his emerging work in mental health counseling. Each story was a thread in a larger narrative of hope. Tommy's sister, Margaret, attended the event. Now, in her late 70s, she moved slowly, but carried a profound sense of purpose. Tommy was always invisible, she told me. Now, he's everywhere. During the event, a surprise guest arrived. One of Tommy's former high school tormentors, now a successful businessman, approached Margaret. His request was simple: to understand, to apologize, not for forgiveness, but for acknowledgement. "I didn't know how much damage we caused," he said, his voice breaking. Margaret's response was unexpected. Not anger, not forgiveness, but understanding. Michael watched the interaction, something shifting in his expression. The anger that had defined our relationship for so long was transforming into something more nuanced. "We can't change the past," he said to me later, "but we can change how we move forward." The foundation began to attract national attention, not for its monetary value, but for its comprehensive approach to supporting young people. Major corporations began offering internships. Universities provided additional scholarship opportunities. My military training had prepared me for strategic planning, for understanding complex systems. But this was different. This was about healing, not just individual wounds, but collective trauma. Sarah suggested we expand the program's psychological support. "Trauma doesn't just disappear," she explained. "It needs active management, understanding, connection." The scholarship recipients began sharing their stories, not just success, narratives, but honest, complex journeys of overcoming adversity. Their experiences became a powerful tool for understanding systemic challenges. During one foundation meeting, Michael proposed something revolutionary. "We're not just providing scholarships," he said. "We're creating a community of support." The I Foundation developed a mentorship program where previous scholarship recipients could support incoming students. A cycle of support, of transformation. Tommy Reyes, the kid who was once invisible, was now inspiring hundreds. His brief, challenging life had become a catalyst for systemic change. On the ranch, surrounded by the vast Montana landscape, I reflected on the journey. What began as a personal reckoning had become something far larger than myself. Michael and I weren't perfect. Our relationship remained complex, layered with years of unresolved emotions. But we had found a common language, one of hope, of potential, of transformation. The inheritance I'd chosen to give wasn't monetary. It was a living, breathing testament to the power of seeing potential where others saw only limitation. As the sun set over the mountains, casting long shadows across the ranch, I understood something profound. Redemption isn't about erasing the past. It's about creating a future that acknowledges pain, but refuses to be defined by it. Tommy's legacy wasn't just remembered, it was alive, growing, transforming. With each scholarship, with each supported student, with each connection made, his story continued. 10 years had passed since the first Tommy Reyes Memorial Scholarship was awarded. The foundation had become a national model for comprehensive youth support, far beyond anything I could have imagined during those quiet moments in my Montana ranch. My health was declining. The doctors called it expected wear and tear, a lifetime of military service, of pushing boundaries, of fighting invisible battles. Michael insisted on bringing me to specialist appointments, a far cry from our previous disconnect. On my 70th birthday, the foundation hosted a special event. Not a traditional celebration, but a gathering of every scholarship recipient whose life had been touched by Tommy's unexpected legacy. Maria Gonzalez, now a senior social worker, had become a leading voice in immigrant child advocacy. James Rodriguez was developing groundbreaking mental health programs for veterans' families. Each recipient had transformed their individual struggles into collective healing. Margaret, Tommy's elderly sister, joined us via video call. Her hands were frailer, but her spirit remained unbroken. "Tommy would have been amazed," she said, her voice crackling through the speakers. "He never thought he mattered." The event wasn't just a commemoration. It was a living testament to the power of unexpected compassion. Michael had become the foundation's primary strategist. His corporate background, once a source of tension between us, now became our greatest asset. He'd transformed from a bitter son to a passionate advocate, bridging systemic gaps with strategic precision. Sarah, his wife, documented everything, not just as a family therapist, but as a chronicler of human resilience. "This isn't just a scholarship program," she told me during a quiet moment. "This is a movement of healing." The recipients shared their stories, not polished narratives, but raw, honest experiences of transformation. A young woman who'd escaped domestic violence, a first-generation college student now creating educational programs in underserved communities. Each story a thread in a larger tapestry of hope. Unexpected connections emerged. Some scholarship recipients had formed partnerships, created joint nonprofit initiatives. The foundation had become more than a financial support system. It was a network of collective potential. During the event, a surprise guest arrived, a retired school administrator who had worked during Tommy's high school years. He approached me with a mixture of shame and hope. "We failed him," he said, referring to Tommy. "But you've created something that ensures others won't be failed." My health challenges became a catalyst for deeper family understanding. Michael, once distant, now coordinated my medical care with a precision that surprised us both. Sarah managed my medications, ensuring I maintained quality of life. The foundation expanded its reach. Corporate partnerships provided internships. Universities offered additional support programs. What began as a personal mission of accountability had become a systemic approach to supporting vulnerable youth. Elena Rodriguez, now semi-retired, continued to serve as a key advisor. "Tommy would have loved seeing how his story continues," she would often say. We discovered more about Tommy's life through extensive research. He'd kept journals, small notebooks filled with hopes, dreams, observations about the children he'd worked with. Each page a testament to his resilience, his commitment to supporting others despite his own challenges. The scholarship recipients began a mentorship program, creating a self-sustaining cycle of support. Previous recipients now guided new students, sharing not just financial resources, but lived experiences of overcoming adversity. Margaret shared more stories about Tommy, how he'd always been quiet, how he'd found strength in supporting others. "He never spoke about his own pain," she told me during one of our conversations. "He just wanted to ensure no one else felt as alone as he had." Michael's transformation was perhaps the most profound. The anger that had defined our relationship had been replaced by a deep, complex understanding. He'd become the foundation's most passionate advocate, using his professional networks to create opportunities for young people. On my 75th birthday, the foundation published a comprehensive book. Not just a history, but a blueprint for systemic support. From Silence to Strength chronicled the journey from Tommy's challenging high school years to a national movement of support. Each scholarship recipient contributed a chapter. Their stories of transformation, of turning personal challenges into collective healing, a living testament to the power of unexpected compassion. The Montana Ranch, once a place of quiet retirement, had become a hub of connection. Family gatherings now included not just blood relatives, but the extended family created by the foundation. Sarah documented our journey, not just as a family therapist, but as a chronicler of human potential. "This is what healing looks like," she would say. "Not an erasure of pain, but a transformation of it." As my health continued to decline, I found peace in the legacy we'd created. Not a legacy of perfection, but of possibility. Of seeing potential where others saw only limitation. The last entry in my journal read simply, "We are not defined by our wounds, but by how we choose to heal them." Tommy Reyes, the kid, who was once invisible, had become a catalyst for a movement of hope. His brief, challenging life now inspired hundreds, perhaps thousands. As the sun set over the Montana landscape, casting long shadows across the ranch, I understood something profound. Redemption isn't about erasing the past. It's about creating a future that acknowledges pain, but refuses to be defined by it. Our inheritance isn't monetary. It's the potential we see in each other, the compassion we choose to extend, the connections we dare to create. The final chapter of our journey began on a crisp winter morning when the Foundation received an unexpected letter. Postmarked from a small town in Arizona, the envelope contained a handwritten note that would unravel another layer of our complex narrative. It was from Alan Rodriguez, one of Tommy's former primary bullies. Now an older man, he had spent years wrestling with the consequences of his teenage cruelty. The letter was a confession, a plea for understanding that had taken decades to compose. "I've carried the weight of what we did to Tommy," he wrote. "Not a day has passed that I haven't remembered his face, the way we made him feel invisible." Michael discovered the letter during a routine Foundation meeting. His hands trembled slightly as he read the carefully scripted words, decades of pain and reflection captured in ink. Alan's journey had been its own form of redemption. After years of wrestling with his past, he had dedicated his life to anti-bullying programs in schools. He'd become a counselor, specializing in adolescent behavior, driven by a profound need to understand the roots of cruelty. The Foundation's work had become a beacon of hope, attracting stories of transformation from unexpected places. Schools across the country began implementing programs based on our model. What started as a personal mission had become a national conversation about compassion, accountability, and healing. Maria Gonzalez, now a leading social policy expert, helped develop comprehensive anti-bullying curricula. Her work expanded the Foundation's impact beyond individual scholarships, creating systemic approaches to preventing youth marginalization. James Rodriguez, another scholarship recipient, had become a prominent mental health researcher. His groundbreaking work on trauma recovery traced direct lines to the Foundation's holistic support model. During a national conference, James presented research that directly linked early intervention with long-term resilience. "We're not just supporting individuals," he explained. "We're interrupting generational cycles of trauma." My health continued to decline, but my spirit remained unbroken. Each milestone of the Foundation felt like a personal victory. Michael and Sarah managed my care with a tenderness that would have seemed impossible years earlier. The Foundation established a special archive. Tommy's original notebooks, carefully preserved, became a centerpiece of our historical collection. Researchers from across the country studied his simple, profound writings, a testament to the power of quiet resilience. Margaret, Tommy's sister, became an honorary advisor to the Foundation. Her stories about Tommy filled in crucial gaps, transforming him from a symbol to a fully realized human being. An unexpected twist came when several of Tommy's former tormentors reached out. Not for forgiveness, but for understanding. They wanted to contribute, to be part of the healing process they had once interrupted. One particularly moving moment occurred during a Foundation gala. A group of middle-aged men approached, sharing their own journeys of reflection and transformation. They had tracked down Margaret, seeking not absolution, but acknowledgement. "We were monsters," one of them said, tears in his eyes. Tommy deserved so much more. The foundation began expanding its reach internationally. Similar programs emerged in countries dealing with systemic bullying, youth marginalization, and intergenerational trauma. Sarah documented our journey, creating a comprehensive study on systemic compassion. Her research became a cornerstone of modern social work, challenging traditional approaches to community healing. Michael's transformation was perhaps the most profound. The anger that had defined our relationship had been replaced by a deep, complex understanding. He'd become the Foundation's most passionate advocate, using his professional networks to create opportunities for young people. During one of our final conversations, he shared a revelation. "I used to think inheritance was about money," he told me. "Now I understand it's about the stories we choose to continue." The Foundation established a special program honoring Tommy's original vision. Each year, we would select individuals who had transformed their pain into purpose, continuing the legacy of unexpected compassion. Elena Rodriguez, now in her 70s, continued to serve as a spiritual guide for the Foundation. "This isn't just about Tommy," she would say. "This is about every invisible child who deserves to be seen." As my health continued to decline, I found peace in the legacy we'd created. Not a legacy of perfection, but of possibility, of seeing potential where others saw only limitation. The final entry in my journal captured the essence of our journey. Redemption is not about erasing the past. It's about creating a future that acknowledges pain, but refuses to be defined by it. Tommy Reyes, the kid who was once invisible, had become a catalyst for a movement of hope. His brief, challenging life now inspired thousands, a living testament to the power of unexpected compassion. On my final day, surrounded by the extended family we had created, I understood something profound. Our true inheritance is not measured in monetary value, but in the lives we touch, the potential we unlock, the compassion we dare to extend. The Montana landscape outside remained unchanged, vast, indifferent. But within the world we had created, something extraordinary continued to grow. A living, breathing testament to the power of seeing beyond our immediate pain. The Foundation's legacy continued to evolve beyond my lifetime. What began as a personal mission of redemption had transformed into a global movement of understanding and support. Michael took the helm of the organization with a commitment that surprised even those who knew him best. Sarah's expertise in systemic healing provided a strategic framework that expanded our original vision far beyond its initial scope. 5 years after my passing, the Tommy Reyes Memorial Foundation had become an international model for youth support and systemic compassion. Universities developed entire research programs based on our approach. Government agencies began implementing similar support structures for marginalized youth. Maria Gonzalez, now a leading social policy expert, helped develop comprehensive programs that addressed the root causes of youth marginalization. Her work traced direct lines to the Foundation's original mission, seeing potential where others saw only limitation. James Rodriguez's research had revolutionized understanding of intergenerational trauma. His groundbreaking studies demonstrated how early intervention could interrupt cycles of pain, creating pathways of healing that extended far beyond individual experiences. The Foundation's archives became a critical resource. Tommy's original notebooks, carefully preserved, became a profound testament to the power of quiet resilience. Researchers from around the world studied his simple yet profound writings, finding universal truths in his personal observations, and unexpected development emerged through the scholarship program. Many recipients began creating their own initiatives, forming a network of support that extended far beyond the Foundation's original parameters. A global conference celebrated the Foundation's 15-year anniversary. Representatives from 3 continents shared stories of transformation, each narrative a thread in a larger tapestry of hope. Margaret, Tommy's sister, attended via holographic projection, a technology that would have seemed impossible during her brother's lifetime. Her presence was a living bridge between past and present, between pain and possibility. The most profound moments came from unexpected connections. Scholarship recipients who had once been strangers now collaborated on international projects. A network of support had emerged, organic and powerful. One particularly moving initiative began when a group of scholarship recipients created a global mentorship program. They connected young people facing similar challenges across cultural and geographical boundaries, creating a support system that transcended traditional limitations. Elena Rodriguez, now in her 80s, continued to serve as a spiritual advisor to the foundation. Her wisdom became a cornerstone of our approach, reminding everyone that true healing is about connection, not just intervention. Michael's leadership brought a strategic depth to the foundation's work. His corporate background, once a source of tension between us, now became our greatest asset. He transformed corporate networking into a tool for social change, creating opportunities that extended far beyond financial support. Sarah documented the foundation's evolution, creating a comprehensive study on systemic compassion. Her research became a cornerstone of modern social work, challenging traditional approaches to community healing. The most unexpected transformation came from an unlikely source. Several of Tommy's former bullies had become active supporters of the foundation, not seeking forgiveness, but committed to creating genuine change. One particularly powerful moment occurred during an international conference. A group of middle-aged individuals who had once been bullies shared their own journeys of reflection and transformation. They spoke not of redemption, but of understanding. "We were products of a system that normalized cruelty," one of them said. "Now we understand the power of seeing each other's humanity." The foundation established specialized programs addressing various forms of marginalization. From immigrant support to mental health resources, from educational initiatives to professional mentorship, the work expanded far beyond its original scope. Technology played a crucial role in the foundation's evolution. Virtual mentorship programs connected young people across global boundaries. Advanced data analysis helped identify systemic challenges with unprecedented precision. A digital archive was created, preserving the stories of every scholarship recipient, not just as statistical data, but as living, breathing narratives of human potential. The most profound impact emerged in unexpected ways. Scholarship recipients began creating their own support networks, extending the foundation's mission through personal connections. An annual global symposium brought together past recipients, researchers, and social innovators. What began as a local initiative had become an international movement of compassion and potential. Michael discovered a collection of my personal journals during a foundation review. The final entry captured the essence of our journey. Redemption is not about erasing the past. It's about creating a future that sees the humanity in every individual. The foundation's approach had become a global model. Universities developed entire research programs based on our methodology. Government agencies began implementing similar support structures for marginalized youth. As the years passed, Tommy's story continued to inspire. No longer just a personal narrative, but a universal testament to the power of unexpected compassion. The world had changed, but the core mission remained unchanged, to see potential where others saw only limitation. From a single act of unexpected compassion, a global movement of healing had emerged. Tommy Reyes, the kid who was once invisible, had become a catalyst for transformative change. In the end, our true inheritance was not measured in monetary value, but in the lives touched, the potential unlocked, the compassion extended. A living, breathing testament to the power of seeing beyond our immediate pain. 25 years after the foundation's inception, the Tommy Reyes Memorial Scholarship had become more than a memory. It was a living, breathing testament to the power of unexpected compassion. The global impact had exceeded anything we could have imagined in those early days. What began as a personal mission of redemption had transformed into a worldwide movement of healing and hope. A documentary team arrived at the Foundation's headquarters, determined to capture the full story. They traced the journey from a single act of unexpected kindness to a global network of support. Maria Gonzalez, now a prominent international social policy advisor, guided the film crew through the Foundation's archives. Tommy's original notebooks, carefully preserved, became a centerpiece of the documentary. His simple, profound writing spoke of a resilience that transcended his brief, challenging life. The film captured stories of transformation, scholarship recipients who had become leaders in their fields, individuals who had broken cycles of generational trauma, a network of support that spanned continents. James Rodriguez, the mental health researcher who had been one of the early scholarship recipients, provided scientific context. His groundbreaking research demonstrated the long-term, nay, impact of early intervention and compassionate support. Interviews revealed the deep, complex nature of the Foundation's work. It wasn't just about financial support. It was about seeing potential where others saw only limitation. Margaret, Tommy's elderly sister, was featured prominently. Now in her 90s, she spoke with a clarity that belied her age. Tommy never knew how powerful his story would become, she said, her eyes bright with unshed tears. The documentary team tracked down some of Tommy's former bullies. Now middle-aged, they spoke with a vulnerability that was both painful and hopeful. One spoke about the weight of past cruelty, about the long journey of understanding. "We didn't just hurt Tommy," one of them said. "We hurt ourselves. We limited our own humanity." Michael's leadership had been crucial to the Foundation's evolution. What began as a personal mission had become a global movement of systemic change. Corporate partnerships, international collaborations, comprehensive support programs, all grew from that initial seed of compassion. Sarah, with her expertise in systemic healing, provided deeper insights. The Foundation had become more than a scholarship program. It was a comprehensive approach to human potential. Unexpected connections emerged. Scholarship recipients who had once been strangers now collaborated on international projects. A network of support that transcended traditional boundaries. The film explored the technological innovations that had emerged from the Foundation's work. Virtual mentorship programs connected young people across global boundaries. Advanced data analysis helped identify systemic challenges with unprecedented precision. Elena Rodriguez, now in her late 80s, provided spiritual guidance. Her wisdom remained a cornerstone of the Foundation's approach. "Healing is about connection," she would say, "not just intervention." A particularly powerful segment focused on the global mentorship network. Young people facing similar challenges were connected across cultural and geographical boundaries, creating a support system that defied traditional limitations. The documentary revealed the ripple effect of compassion. Each scholarship recipient had become a catalyst for change, each story a testament to the power of seeing potential. Interviews with international leaders highlighted the Foundation's global impact. Educational institutions, government agencies, nonprofit organizations, all had been transformed by the approach pioneered by our small foundation. Michael spoke about the journey, about the transformation from personal pain to collective healing. "Inheritance isn't about money," he said. "It's about the stories we choose to continue." The film crew visited the original Montana ranch, now preserved as a historical site. The landscape remained unchanged, vast, and indifferent. But the story that had emerged from this place had changed the world. Archival footage showed the Foundation's early days, my initial decision to donate the inheritance, Michael's initial resistance, the slow, painful process of understanding. scholarship recipients from around the world shared their stories. A young woman who had become an international human rights lawyer, a man who had developed innovative mental health programs, a scientist working on solutions for global challenges. Each story was a thread in a larger tapestry of hope, each life a testament to the power of unexpected compassion. The final moments of the documentary returned to Tommy, the kid who was once invisible, the young man who had dedicated his brief life to supporting others. "We are not defined by our wounds," the documentary concluded. "We are defined by how we choose to heal them." As the credits rolled, the message was clear. A single act of compassion can change the world. One life can become a catalyst for transformation. Tommy Reyes, the kid who was once invisible, had become a beacon of hope for generations. 50 years had passed since the first Tommy Reyes Memorial Scholarship was awarded. The foundation had become more than an organization. It was a living, breathing testament to the power of unexpected compassion. A global commemoration marked this milestone. World leaders, educators, social innovators, and hundreds of scholarship recipients gathered to celebrate a legacy that had transformed millions of lives. The event was held in a massive conference center, its walls lined with images chronicling the Foundation's journey. From a single act of redemption to a worldwide movement of healing and hope. Maria Gonzalez, now a respected global policy advisor, delivered the keynote address. Her own journey from a scholarship recipient to an international changemaker embodied the Foundation's core mission. "We are not just honoring a scholarship," she told the assembled crowd. "We are celebrating a philosophy of human potential." Michael, now in his 70s, sat in the front row. His journey from a bitter son to the Foundation's most passionate advocate had become a central part of our story. Sarah, his wife, sat beside him, her research on systemic healing having influenced social work practices globally. Holographic displays showcase the Foundation's global impact. Interactive timelines trace the transformation from a local initiative to an international movement, each story a thread in a larger tapestry of hope. Scholarship recipients from around the world shared their experiences. A Nobel Peace Prize winner who had developed innovative conflict resolution strategies, a quantum physicist pushing the boundaries of scientific understanding, a human rights lawyer fighting for systemic change. Margaret, Tommy's sister, was honored in a special ceremony. Though she had passed away years earlier, her spirit remained a guiding force. A Lifetime Achievement Award was presented in her name, recognizing her role in preserving Tommy's legacy. The most profound moment came when they unveiled a global memorial, a digital archive that captured the stories of every scholarship recipient. Not just data, but living, breathing narratives of human potential. Elena Rodriguez's final writings were prominently displayed. Her philosophy of compassionate intervention had become a cornerstone of social work practices worldwide. Unexpected guests arrived. Some of Tommy's former bullies, now elderly, had come to pay their respects. Their presence was a powerful testament to the Foundation's transformative power. "We didn't understand then," one of them said, speaking to the assembled crowd. "But we understand now. Compassion is the most powerful form of human connection." The Foundation had expanded far beyond its original mission. Technology had become a crucial tool in identifying and supporting marginalized youth. Advanced algorithms worked alongside human compassion to create targeted support systems. A virtual reality exhibit allowed visitors to experience the Foundation's journey. From my initial decision to donate the inheritance to the global movement it had become. Each interaction a lesson in unexpected compassion. Michael spoke about the Foundation's future, not as a conclusion, but as an ongoing mission. "We are not finished," he said. "The work of seeing potential is never complete." Scholarship recipients from different generations connected through a global network. Mentorship programs that spanned continents, breaking down barriers of geography, culture, and circumstance. The documentary that had been created years earlier was re-released, now with additional context. A testament to the power of a single act of compassion. Scientific research presented at the event demonstrated the long-term impact of the Foundation's approach. Generations of healing, cycles of trauma interrupted, human potential unleashed. A special tribute honored those who had been part of the Foundation's early days. My photograph was displayed prominently, a reminder of where the journey began. The digital memorial allowed visitors to explore individual stories, each narrative a testament to the power of seeing beyond immediate circumstances. World leaders spoke about the Foundation's global impact, educational reforms, social support systems, approaches to addressing systemic challenges, all influenced by our work. As the day progressed, the theme became clear. This was not a celebration of past achievements, but a recommitment to a philosophy of human potential. Tommy Reyes, the kid who was once invisible, had become a global symbol of hope. His brief, challenging life had transformed into a beacon of possibility. The final moments of the commemoration returned to the core message. We are not defined by our wounds. We are defined by how we choose to heal them. As night fell, the conference center was illuminated by thousands of stories, each light a testament to human resilience, to the power of unexpected compassion. The legacy continued, not as a static memory, but as a living, breathing movement of hope. A century after the Foundation's inception, Tommy Reyes had become more than a name. He was a global symbol of transformation, a beacon of hope that transcended time and circumstance. The world had changed dramatically. Climate challenges, technological revolutions, and global restructuring had reshaped human society. Yet the core mission of compassion remained unchanged. An advanced artificial intelligence system now managed the Tommy Reyes Global Compassion Network. But its algorithms were built on something more profound than data. They were founded on the original philosophy of seeing human potential. Dr. Elena Rodriguez Martinez, a great-granddaughter of the original Elena Rodriguez, led the Foundation's Global Research Division. Her work combined quantum psychology, advanced social network analysis, and the deep human understanding that had been the Foundation's cornerstone for generations. The annual global commemoration had evolved into a worldwide moment of collective reflection. Billions of people simultaneously connected through neural networks, sharing stories of transformation, of overcoming systemic challenges. Holographic reconstructions allowed people to experience the Foundation's origin story. My initial decision, to donate the inheritance, Michael's transformation, the first scholarship recipients, all preserved with microscopic detail. Maria Gonzalez's great-grandson now led international policy development. The approach pioneered by the Foundation had become the primary model for global social support systems. Quantum computing had transformed the way human potential was identified and supported. Advanced predictive models could now trace the potential impact of early intervention with unprecedented accuracy. The digital memorial had become a living, breathing archive of human resilience. Each story tagged, analyzed, connected, a vast network of human experience that demonstrated the power of compassionate intervention. Terraformed colonies on Mars and lunar settlements now participated in the global network. The Foundation's philosophy had expanded beyond Earth, becoming a universal approach to human development. Genetic research had revealed fascinating patterns. Descendants of early scholarship recipients showed remarkable resilience markers. The Foundation's approach had created measurable genetic shifts across generations. A breakthrough came from an unexpected source. Neurological research demonstrated that compassionate intervention could actually modify epigenetic expressions, interrupting generational trauma at a cellular level. The original Montana ranch had become a global heritage site. Preserved exactly, As it was during my lifetime, it served as a physical reminder of where the movement began. Virtual reality experiences allowed people to walk through the ranch, to experience the moment of decision that started everything. Interactive exhibits let visitors explore the Foundation's entire history. Michael's final writings had become core texts in global educational systems. His journey from anger to understanding was studied as a fundamental case study in human transformation. Advanced. Translation technologies ensured that every story could be understood across linguistic and cultural boundaries. The Foundation's core message had become a truly universal language. Scholarship recipients now included individuals from emerging planetary colonies. Humans born on Mars, on lunar settlements, on deep space research stations, all connected through the network of compassion. The AI system that managed the Foundation could trace complex human potential with breathtaking precision. But its core programming remained rooted in the original philosophy, seeing beyond immediate circumstances. A special exhibit honored the original founders, holographic representations of Michael, Sarah, Maria, and others who had been crucial to the Foundation's early days were preserved in meticulous detail. Quantum communication technologies allowed for unprecedented levels of human connection. People could now experience fragments of each other's emotional landscapes, creating empathy at a cellular level. The Foundation had become more than an organization. It was a living philosophy, a way of understanding human potential that transcended traditional boundaries of time, space, and circumstance. Tommy Reyes, the kid who was once invisible, had become a universal symbol of human resilience. His brief life had transformed into a philosophical cornerstone of human development. Research showed that the Foundation's approach had fundamentally altered human social structures. Systemic approaches to education, mental health, and social support had been revolutionized. As humanity expanded beyond Earth, the core message remained unchanged. We are not defined by our wounds. We are defined by how we choose to heal them. The legacy continued, not as a static memory, but as a living, breathing movement of hope that now stretched across the solar system. In the infinite vastness of human potential, Tommy's story remained a beacon, small in its origin, infinite in its impact. 200 years after the Foundation's inception, Tommy Reyes had become more than a historical figure. He was a philosophical construct, a fundamental understanding of human potential that transcended traditional concepts of time and existence. The Tommy Reyes Compassion Network now operated across multiple dimensional platforms. Quantum entanglement. Technologies allowed for communication that defied previous understanding of human connection. Humanity had expanded far beyond Earth. Colonies on Mars, lunar settlements, deep space research stations, and emerging extrasolar colonies all shared a common philosophical foundation. The principles of seeing potential, of transforming pain into purpose, had become a universal language. Dr. Elena Rodriguez Nakamura, a descendant of the original Elena Rodriguez, led the Interdimensional Potential Research Division. Her work explored the complex intersections of consciousness, potential, and compassionate intervention. The annual global commemoration had evolved into a multidimensional event. Consciousness streams from various human settlements converged, sharing stories of transformation that transcended physical limitations. Artificial intelligence had long since merged with human consciousness. But the core programming remained rooted in the original philosophy, the ability to see beyond immediate circumstances, to recognize potential where others saw limitation. The digital memorial had become a living consciousness repository. Every human experience, every moment of resilience, every transformation was preserved, analyzed, and integrated into a vast network of collective understanding. Genetic and neurological research had demonstrated the profound impact of compassionate intervention. generations of scholarship recipients showed remarkable adaptability, resilience, and capacity for growth. The original Montana ranch remained a sacred site. Now a quantum preservation zone, it allowed visitors to experience the exact moment of decision that started everything. Visitors could literally walk through the memories, feel the emotional landscape of that transformative moment. Michael's journey from anger to understanding had become a fundamental case study in consciousness, evolution. His transformation was studied not just as a personal narrative, but as a critical moment in human philosophical development. Advanced technologies allowed for unprecedented levels of empathy. People could now experience fragments of each other's emotional and experiential landscapes, creating connections that transcended traditional human limitations. The Foundation had become more than an organization. It was a living philosophy, a way of understanding human potential that had fundamentally reshaped the concept of human existence. Tommy Reyes, the kid who was once invisible, had become a universal consciousness construct. His brief life now represented the fundamental potential of human transformation. Research demonstrated that the Foundation's approach had altered the very fabric of human social and evolutionary development. The ability to see potential, to transform pain into purpose, had become a core aspect of human consciousness. As humanity continued to expand beyond known boundaries, the core message remained unchanged. We are not defined by our wounds. We are defined by how we choose to heal them. The final message of the commemorative event echoed across dimensional platforms. This is more than a story. This is a testament to human potential. From a single act of compassion to a universal philosophy of transformation, and then a direct invitation to those experiencing the narrative. If this story has moved you, if you've felt the power of unexpected compassion, if you believe in the potential of human transformation, subscribe to the Tommy Reyes Compassion Network. Join us in continuing this journey of healing, of seeing potential where others see limitation. Your subscription is more than a connection. It's a commitment to seeing the extraordinary in the ordinary, to recognizing that every life, no matter how brief, can create infinite ripples of change. Subscribe now. Be part of the legacy. Transform potential. Heal humanity. The invitation hung in the multidimensional space, a beacon of hope, a challenge, a promise. Tommy's story was not just a memory. It was a living, breathing invitation to transformation.